kind of crooked, right? Of course I find the perfect angle and it ends out crooked. Okay, that's as straight as it's gonna get, which makes sense because, hello friends, welcome to my kitchen. Today's video is just gonna be me discussing some things with my life and my writing journey and how that's changed recently. So you're getting Caitlin in PJs, and I'm also experimenting with the Japanese flash brew method of making iced coffee. So I figured I would attempt this method. I'm not telling you what I'm doing, but I'm gonna attempt it while I chat with you guys. Just because there's been some like big life changes and like self-care and like realizations going on with me recently, and I kind of wanted to chat about it, I guess. I am currently waiting on my water to boil. Actually, no, I need to grind this coffee first. Hold on. Okay, now I'm ready. And now I'm just waiting on the water to, you know, do its thing. So what I wanted to talk about today is something that I've been kind of debating on discussing, because I do know there's like a stigma around it, and like I didn't want like my recent diagnosis to become like my entire personality. Because I have done that in the past when, it was before I had this YouTube channel. Sorry, there's water noises. But before I had this YouTube channel and I was dealing with like my other mental illnesses in the past with like PTSD and like a panic disorder and stuff like that, that I kind of made it my entire personality to like let everyone know and like in their face that I was dealing with these issues. And I didn't want to like kind of do that again with this recent diagnosis, but it is part of my journey, and especially to do with like productivity and writing and stuff. And since it will be affecting my writing journey, I decided that I am going to make a video talking about it. I'm not going to like mention it in every video, but I just did want to discuss it because it has happened recently and it's part of my writing journey is learning to work with it, which I haven't even said it yet, but I have been recently diagnosed with ADHD. And this video is not talking about what ADHD is. It's not going to go deep into the depths of the nuances of it and all of that. If you are interested in doing research, I will link some resources down below and a YouTube channel that I have learned a lot from post-diagnosis. And this is not a video that's focused on what ADHD is. It's a video that I want to just discuss how I'm learning to work with my ADHD and how I'm learning to work with my brain and how I can use those tools to work with my brain and learning how to work with it in my writing process. And it is part of my writing journey with being diagnosed and now medicated. Hold it, my water's ready. This is going to be a very brief Cliff Notes version of how I've become diagnosed. Is my partner made a new friend while rock climbing, and so he's been kind of hanging out with us, and he himself has ADHD, and I hung out with him twice, and the third time we hung out, he was like, I have ADHD, and I think you have it too, and was like, you need to like try and figure that out. So I was like, no, like I was debating because I fell into this trap because you know that the trend on TikTok right now is ADHD and like getting diagnosed and all of that. And I had the thought of maybe, but I feel like it's just a trend and it's just this toxic self-diagnosing thing that's been going on. And so I kind of just pushed the thought aside like a year ago. It took this push from my partner's new friend, who's also now my friend as well, to have me actually like look into it. And I did some research on like symptoms of ADHD, scheduled an appointment to get possibly diagnosed. I wrote down a list of symptoms that I've dealt with my entire life that was like 2.5 pages long, gave it to my doctor that was looking into diagnosing me, and she said that every single one of those symptoms that I've dealt with like my entire life points to ADHD. So she basically was like, I can't officially say it yet because we haven't done the testing for it, but you have ADHD. So it's changed my world's perspective. Basically, once I discovered it, my entire life made sense. My personality made sense. All of these like traits that have been part of my life my entire life make sense. And it makes it so I'm looking at treating my brain and understanding how my brain works in a different way. Moving forward with being on ADHD medication is changing my life. Moving forward with dealing with the medication and learning how my brain works and working around that with my writing journey. And it's kind of funny because like my diagnosis like came like right after I finished my revision for my City project and sent it to beta readers. So it was kind of this new thing that I haven't really like been able to figure out with this new perspective yet of what my writing routine is, but I do notice my productivity changing in AuthorTube videos and how I tackle that, and also how, because I've started the like world building and research process for my new project Industrial, but I haven't started the writing process of it yet. So it's this weird thing that I don't quite know how it's going to affect that, but I'm noticing more productivity in these other things. With this new revision that I'm going to be starting once I get beta reader feedback, I think it's going to be more sustainable, and I'm going to be able to work with my brain and understand when to give myself breaks more and just figure it all out. This brew is now done. We will see if it worked. This is only my second attempt at doing the Japanese flash brew. So I figured out that it's like finding the perfect ratio of ice to water. And I tried measuring the ice this time by gram weight, and I don't know if it worked out, but we'll see. I'm figuring this method out. I didn't want to do cold brew all summer because it's so time consuming and labor intensive, and Japanese flash brew is supposed to taste similar to cold brew but have such a short amount of time. It's I'm learning, and I guess because my channel is a barista's writing journey, I decided to show you guys that I'm learning something new. So let me taste this and see how it turned out. I think it turned out better than the last time I made it, but I think there's still too much ice. I have to figure out the perfect ice ratio because it's a little too watered down. Still good though. I found the perfect ratio of like coffee measurements, but I have to figure out how much ice with the water and all of that. I'm going to make myself an actual cup of this, and I will meet you guys in my office. Here are the things that I've noticed so far and how ADHD has affected my writing previously and now, but like my perspective is different now. I found a new way of focusing on my productivity in the mornings and kind of just looking at productivity differently, whether it's whatever I'm working on, writing, AuthorTube, or reading, or anything like that. I take my medication in the mornings, and it works best in the mornings for focusing and helping my brain just work properly. I have come to the new routine, if I'm not working in the morning for my day job as a barista, where I wake up and immediately just head to my desk and start my productivity for the day. My new goal on those days is finishing all my productivity before noon, and then after noon, I either will reward myself or I go to work, depending on if I'm closing the store or whatever, but it's doing as much productivity as possible before noon, and then once it hits noon, I am done for the day. It doesn't matter what I've finished, which with this method, I have kind of learned that I do get a lot done, and I'm done a few hours before noon usually. But it's my new method of getting shit done, and it's helped me a lot where I stop myself at noon and I'm like, okay, you're done for the day completely. You can go play a video game now. You can read a book now if reading wasn't part of my productivity that morning. It's this new method that I'm learning works for my brain and how I'm dealing with this diagnosis and like trying to work with my brain, but that could change in the future. That's just what I'm using right now. The second thing that I've noticed is I look at bullet journaling in a different way now. I started bullet journaling a few months before I started like taking my writing seriously. That was also when I started bullet journaling is when my panic attacks stopped. I don't think I've ever really talked about my panic attacks, my panic disorder on this channel, but bullet journaling helped me work through a mental health issue that I was dealing with. Bullet journaling was invented by a guy who has ADHD, and bullet journaling was his method of organizing the chaos of his ADHD and how he took his life from random pieces of paper and post-it notes and stuck it all to one notebook. Now, bullet journaling's turned into like this picturesque artistic thing, which is great for certain people, but as a function, a bullet journal helps ADHD a lot, and I'm learning how to use it in a way that benefits me in a way that it hasn't before, where it's not just to look pretty anymore. I do still make it look pretty because it makes me happy, but it's not just about looking pretty. It's about the functionality and looking pretty for me. The to-do list portion of the bullet journal has always been part of it for me, but I've learned that with ADHD, if you don't cross everything off your to-do list and there's nothing else, it kind of makes it so your brain feels like you did nothing that day, which is time blindness, which I'm not going to go deep into like the terminology, but how I'm stopping that from happening now is everything that I did that wasn't on my to-do list, I will add it on that day's to-do list anyway, but I'll use a different symbol so that if I look back on that day, I don't feel like I did nothing. I see that I actually did complete some things, but it was just things that were not on my to-do list. And the completion helps the brain feel better about that day. And so it's not like, oh, I did nothing today. You actually did do stuff today. And I'm learning how to stick to my goals more with the bullet journal. I'm going to start, I already did it for like spring, but it's like just the 3 months of every season, planning out my goals more and breaking down each goal into step-by-step tasks and much smaller tasks so that it's easier to attain that goal. And I see that I can finish each one by one step. So that's helped out a lot with writing goals and with AuthorTube goals. I've attained both of those the past couple of months, and we'll see if I can keep it up with like figuring out how my brain works. The third thing that I've noticed is I am able to focus more. Even on days when I've missed my medication, I am aware of how focused I am now because I know that it's an actual issue and it's not just, oh, I can't focus today. I know how my brain works and I know that it has trouble focusing, so I'm actively trying to focus on my writing. And it's easier to keep myself on track. The fourth thing that I've noticed is I'm able to recognize when I get hyper-focused. Now, in the past, like I was vaguely aware. I would just do something for hours on end, but not really be aware that I was hyper-focusing on it. Now I'm able to notice. So like, for example, earlier this week, I was doing my May bullet journal spreads and I didn't realize it, but my brain had started to hyper focus on it. And I didn't realize it until I was in the middle of doing that and my partner came in and wanted me to do something for a coupon because he was about to go to the store. He wanted it to me to add it to the grocery, our account with the grocery store or whatever, so we could have that coupon. And I genuinely got so angry because I wasn't able to complete my bullet journal stuff before I did that. In the past, I've noticed there are things where I get angry about and I didn't know where the anger was coming from. This time I was able to acknowledge, the reason why you got angry about this is because you were hyper-focused and you were interrupted. You weren't able to complete the thing you were hyper-focused on. And that's what the ADHD brain likes, is completing things. I was able to acknowledge that and figure out my emotions and all of that and actually discuss it with my partner. We figured it out, but it was something that I didn't know how my brain worked until recently, and now I'm learning and I'm noticing things more. Number 5, I don't know what number we're on, but the next one is I'm able to recognize when my brain is done for the day more. I'm learning my brain's cues and I'm learning to work with them and recognizing when it's going to be a bad brain day or if I'm not going to be able to focus and be as productive. Just recognizing, how is my brain feeling today? How am I feeling today? Figuring all that out. The last thing that I have learned is that because I'm now on the proper medication, where before I was unmedicated, I'm actually able to work on my writing and my personal productivity stuff on days that I work. Where in the past, I used to have to save all of my energy for working, and when I got home, I didn't have the brain capacity to continue working on things that were productive. Now, because I'm on the proper medication, I'm able to spread myself out a little bit more and do more than just work on days that I work. And in the past, it used to be only my days off that I could focus, or back when I worked at the slow location where we were so dead that I was able to do my writing at work. Now I'm able to work and do an opening shift, work until 12, come home and continue being productive. It's amazing. It's life-changing, this diagnosis, and learning how to work with it. With learning this diagnosis, I'm able to improve myself in all aspects of my life, but especially in my writing and my productivity space. I'm learning to work with my brain and improve myself. And my writing may never be perfect, but I'm learning about my processes more. And I'm growing as a person because of it. I wanted to kind of talk about this on my channel because it is part of my writing journey in that I'm learning how to work with my brain. My channel's not going to be focused on, how this is me as a writer and how I battle my ADHD or whatever. My channel's still going to be just documenting my writing journey, but me discovering this is part of my writing journey, and I wanted to kind of make a video discussing it, but I'm not going to be discussing it in every video. There may be times that it comes up where I'm like, oh, my brain is not functioning today because of ADHD. I recognize that I'm not going to be able to do this. Like, it might come up in like a vlog like that, but it's not going to be completely like focused on it. But I thought it would be a good discussion, and I know there's like some stigma around ADHD and people don't know exactly what ADHD is, and it is something that like is okay to have, and figuring out how to work with your brain. If you have ADHD, let me know your tips for keeping focused on writing and how you work with your brain. If you don't have ADHD, how do you stay focused? I'm curious about learning about everyone's method, no matter who you are or how your brain works. I don't know, this is kind of a different video, but I wanted to make it a video discussing it, and I was debating even bringing it up on my channel. But I want to be honest on here because it is documenting my writing journey, the highs and the lows, and I wanted to be authentic. I didn't want to like hide this new part of me that I've discovered. So that's gonna be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, hit that red subscribe button down below. My name is Caitlin Ash, and my channel is A Barista's Writing Journey. That's going to be it for this video. I will see you in my next one.